Okay, time for some more quotes. We're going in alphabetical order with the letter R. First one is John Randolph of Roanoke. He said, I am an aristocrat. I love liberty and I hate equality. And I think what he sort of means by that is, me personally, I like, meritocracy. If there's meritocracy, I have a chance to compete. And if I can compete in anything intellectual, I usually do really well. On the other hand, when you've got all this diversity, equality, all this BS, what ends up happening is they block the talented people. I'm half Hispanic. My mother's from Puerto Rico. I'm the smartest Hispanic doctor in the whole world, but I'm not allowed anywhere. I'm not allowed in minority organizations. They won't speak to me. They won't write to me. Nothing. I was in the Hispanic Medical Student Society in college. I won all these awards in there. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is this diversity, DEI, all this stuff, it is not about helping minorities. They hate minorities. They have no respect for them whatsoever. They just pretend to as a way to get money and as a way to push out people they don't like, okay? They don't want talented minority people. I'm a minority. I'm talented. They don't want anything to do with me. What they want is puppets. Take a look around a lot of these minority politicians. They're puppets, okay? They're not functioning independently. So anyways, that's where he's kind of coming from, because the only way you can make equality with talented people is you have to smash down the talented people. And that's what, collectivist societies do. So you don't want that. You want meritocracy, where everybody has a chance to compete, and whoever is the best at whatever the activity deserves to win whatever the awards are in that field. That's a fair situation. That's what you actually want. That makes society better for everybody. Okay, the next thing, Roanoke, he says, the most delicious of all privileges is the spending of other people's money. He also was involved in politics. Time is the most valuable and perishable of our possessions. And then he saw some guy getting elected for something that he didn't think the guy deserved, and he didn't want him to get elected for it. So I'll share with you his next quote. He says, never were abilities so much below mediocrity, so well rewarded. No, not even when Caligula's horse was made consul. Okay. That was in response to the appointment of one of his political opponents. Okay, the next person is John Ratey. He's a physician. I think he's at Harvard. He's a psychiatrist. And he was a co-author, including on the first and second editions of the book Driven to Distraction by Hallowell. And in my opinion, these guys are scumbags, okay? You don't need to give attention deficit, stimulant, amphetamines to kids. These guys are full of crap, and they do it, in my opinion, because it gives you grant money from the drug companies and you can get famous doing it, okay? But nobody would give amphetamines to children to treat anything if it wasn't for the big money involved. That's my opinion. Okay, and I think he felt bad about that because he's a smart guy. He knows probably that's a crock of BS. And I think he tried to make up for it by doing some good work on exercise. He's a pretty smart guy. So he studied exercise, and he wrote a book also on exercise. He says, exercise is the single most powerful tool you have to optimize your brain function. Exercise has a profound impact on cognitive abilities. I would say also eating a low-fat vegan diet, avoiding stimulants, and avoiding like caffeine, sleep deprivation, psychological stress, and also avoiding mitochondrial inhibitors. That's how you maintain blood flow to your brain. I look at tons of brains of people with cognitive decline, and they all got these, not all, almost all of them, it's a shrunken atrophic brain. So it's apoptosis, not strokes, it's not Alzheimer's, that's all BS. What it is a lack of blood flow to the brain. And then, like I said, supply and demand theory of Peter Rogers, MD, elevating the demand by stimulants, caffeine, sleep deprivation and stress, and then dropping ATP production, not just because of blood flow reduction by atherosclerosis from diabetes and hypertension, but also dropping ATP production because of mitochondrial inhibitors. That's the game right there. Excitotoxins also include things like aspartame, MSG, MFG, beta amyloid protein, glyphosate. Okay, he says, so I think the reason why, guys like Ratey and guys like Peter Attia and guys like Jordan Peterson say exercise is the most important thing for the brain, because those guys, when it comes to nutrition, they're a bunch of idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. So all they can say is exercise is good. Yes, exercise is wonderful for the brain, but all that nutritional stuff, toxicology stuff is super important too. They just don't know it. That's why they can't say it. But I can. Okay, the next one. The more fit you are, the better a student you are, and the better your test scores, both math and verbal. I've also seen that too. And I know I've got friends who are college professors, and they say, yeah, the students that are kind of like student athletes in their habits and their discipline, they do a lot better. John Ratey, exercise. Okay, we already talked about single best thing you can do for your brain in terms of mood, memory, and learning. Exercise. And it also makes you look good, so it raises your self-esteem because you like yourself when you know you're keeping yourself fit, and it makes you more attractive. Okay, exercise is really for the brain more so than for the body. It improves mood, vitality, alertness, and feelings of well-being. The brain is not ones and zeros. The brain is analog. The brain works by analogy and metaphor. Yeah, the way you learn something new is you associate it with what you already know. So what you already know is like the shelves in the kitchen, and the more shelves you have, the more you can precisely categorize everything. And the easier it is to learn new stuff by you got more things to associate it with. He also points out people who go to church have 50% less incidents of heart attack and suicide. Yeah, religious people are way healthier. That's not widely known. That's not widely talked about because the modern world tries to, frown on religion, but they're way healthier. Okay, and if you have a choice where you want to live, I want to live in the most absolutely intensely Christian place there is. Okay, that's a place I know where there'll be next to zero crime, people to be nice, because I've known those communities, and I also know friends who live in those types of places, and they say they're the best places you could want to be. The women want to have babies. They want to stay married. They don't want to divorce. They don't want to run around like WHORESs. Okay, that's where you want to be if you have a choice. That's why everybody came to the West, because it used to be Christian. Now it's being turned into a third world crap hole. Okay, a couple different things about the brain. We don't need to get into this too much, but the left brain basically is more for language. It's a little bit more like a Protestant brain. The right brain is more aesthetic and beautiful and for pictures and metaphors. It's more of a Catholic brain. Physically fit men will do as well on tests of mental function as men 30 to 40 years younger. Yeah, I'm mentally faster than the medical students I talk to. Okay, things that generalize improve brain function. Okay, sleeping, get your sleep, manage your stress, exercise, have a psychosocial support system, read a lot. Okay, walk a lot. All right, we know all this stuff. Here's what's interesting. The limbic system has more connections going out to the cortex and the cortex to the limbic system, and that's part of the idea that emotions exert more control on behavior and thinking than thinking does on emotions. Okay, let's see. I'm going to skip some of this stuff. Okay, here's a quote from him. Language is a quantum leap forward for humans, a major leap. A spoken language is only about 50,000 years old, and written language only about 5,000 years old. Prose is only about 2,500 years old. Deaf children with no teaching but somebody to sign with will invent their own sign language. Okay. All right, we got one more person here. John Ray. He lived 1627 to 1705. He said, wedlock is a padlock. It is a foolish sheep that makes the wolf his counsel. Feather by feather the goose is plucked. To those we love best we say the least. A maid that laughs is half taken. If you can make her laugh, you can get her in the sack. That's not necessarily true. I can make lots of women laugh who would run as fast as they could in the opposite direction. Okay. Diseases are the taxes on pleasures. Okay. In 1,000 pounds of law, there's not an ounce of love. Okay, then from Proverbs, similar quotes. As a dog returneth to his vomit, so a fool returneth to his folly. Okay, an ass is beautiful to an ass. A swine is beautiful to a swine. Okay, Sam Rayburn, the politician, Democrat, he said, a jackass can kick a barn down, but it takes a carpenter to build one. A few quotes on reading, and then we'll call it for the day. Let's see. Textbooks may include basic information, but a living book fills the gaps with the human touch. The carefully chosen words of an author writing with a personal fondness for his or her topic speaks enthusiastically to a child, and students pick up on the author's enthusiasm. This is what keeps curiosity and love of knowledge alive. Yeah, so the best books, including in medicine, are where the author has a sense of humor, really knows the subject well, has nice metaphors that are helpful, has useful insights you can't find somewhere else. And you'll find those books, and they're always written by these really idiosyncratic authors, okay? But then again, too, conventional medical textbooks, conventional medical system won't allow those books in. My friends tell me my books are the best medical books ever written, mine and McDougall's. And they said, but McDougall at least was all polite and prim and proper. They said, mine never will be allowed in a medical advisor. You make fun of the conventional medical system, you talk about religion, You say there's something better than drugs. That could never be allowed in a conventional medical system. Okay, anyways, next quote by Northrop Frye. The book is the most efficient technological instrument for learning that has ever been devised by the human mind. Yeah, I like books a lot better than ebooks. You can have a book in the bathroom, okay? You don't want to bring your ebook in the bathroom necessarily. You can take your paperback book anywhere you want with you. You can mark it up. It's not going to get deleted by the company. You can read the damn thing whenever you want. Okay, Henry David Thoreau. How many a man has dated a new era in his life from the reading of a book? Thoreau again. Books are the carriers of civilization. Schopenhauer said the same thing. He goes, if you want to become a well-educated person, you have to read a lot, because books, that's where the information is. Yeah, and to read a good book by a good author, it's like condensed, high-yield information. Samuel Butler. Books are like imprisoned souls until somebody takes them down from the shelf and frees them. Joan Bauer. God made libraries so people wouldn't have an excuse for being stupid. Kurt Vonnegut. Reading and writings are in themselves subversive acts. What they subvert is the notion that things have to be the way they are. Yeah, you wouldn't write a book if you didn't think you had something useful to say. That's the other thing, too. It's like probably about 1 out of 1,000 doctors writes a book. And why is that? Because most doctors, if that many, most doctors, all they read is the conventional medical books and journals. And if all you read is the conventional medical books and journals and you actually believe them, then why would you write anything? It's already been done. Why would you do anything? It's when you start reading outside and all the other tangentially related fields, you realize the conventional medical books are a joke, they're stupid, and then you want to write because you know there's so much more useful, better information to be provided. That's how it works. And that's why it's readers who become writers. You have to read a lot. Okay. All right. Most educated society history in the world was the United States from about 1700 to 1950, went up to 95% of people were able to read books. Okay, but literacy has plummeted since then. Since those days, the 1800s, people were much smarter than we are now because they would read these big, triple-decker novels, 500 to 1,000 pages. Nowadays, illiteracy is through the roof, and all these kids are taught with the look-say method. Dyslexia, reading disorders, anxiety problems, behavior problems. These kids are all messed up. As you take Christianity out of the schools, performance goes down. As you add social media, performance goes down. As you add electronic learning, you can look on the internet, when they start having these electronic teaching things, the kids' academic performance goes in the garbage can. Children should be reading real books, not this electronic BS. And the rich people, the billionaire perverts, they don't send their kids to these public schools with these stupid electronic digital technology. They have them reading paper books, okay, and doing real activities. Go outside, go for a walk with your dad, go bird watching. All those things make you a lot smarter. Let the kid pick whatever books they want. Donalyn Miller, the book whisperer lady, she says, let the kids read whatever they want. Her kids read an average of 40 to 55 books a year. She's the best sixth grade teacher in the whole United States. And what's her secret? She lets the kids read whatever they want and lets them talk about it. So it's fun for them.